Hi everyone. I hope you had a great week. This week we're going to look at lessons 65 through 68. So let's get started. This week you're going to need your lessons manual, the student worksheets, the math card games manual with the game cards, the abacus, the dry erase board, the fraction chart pieces, appendix 7, scissors, and tape. Now the scissors and tape are not included in your Right Start Math materials. Before we get started this week, I wanted to let you know I came across a great article written by Rachel Fuhrman, and I wanted to bring up a couple points from that article to you today for you to consider as you're teaching your child. Now, I'm really big into having parents encourage their children as they learn. However, sometimes those encouraging words that we use can actually be taken as insults or put extra stress on the child. So let me share with you some of those phrases that you might want to consider altering or avoiding. The first phrase is, "That is so easy." Now, while the concept that we're teaching might be easy for you or for me or for many of the kids, if your child struggles with that material at all, they are then going to feel negative about themselves and their ability to learn. We do want our kids to realize that it's okay to struggle while they're learning, and we want to provide opportunities for them to ask questions. Now, if your child is told something is easy and they don't understand, they're less likely to ask for help or ask questions even at all. We do want to make sure that your child, our kids, are comfortable enough while they're learning to ask questions and to enjoy the learning process. Everybody struggles at something at some point, right? The next phrase to avoid is, "You're so smart." And I know on the onset, that sounds like a real positive thing, isn't it? But for a struggling learner, if they hear somebody say that to another student, "You're so smart," while they're working on an activity that the struggling learner is struggling on, then that struggling learner is going to think to themselves, "Well, that child's smart because they know how to do this. So I must not be smart because I don't know." In addition, this compliment is referring to intelligence and not behavior. We, as parent teachers, want to encourage positive learning behaviors. So instead of praising your child for their intelligence, maybe we should start praising our kids for their hard work, for their determination to finish a project, for their attention to detail, for communicating well, for their ability to work with one another, or even courage for trying something new. Another phrase to avoid is, "You should already know this." Now, I must admit, I confess, I've done this with my kids on occasion, especially when I've gotten frustrated. And boy, did I regret it as soon as that phrase left my mouth. By saying these type of phrases, it's going to confirm in your child's mind that they are not good at math, nor will they ever be good at math. It also places blame on the student for something that really might not even be their fault. Now, Rachel Fuhrman ends her article with this statement, which I absolutely love. It says, "The way we speak to our students has an immense impact, and small changes to what we say can make that impact a positive one." All right, so let's go ahead and get started on this week's overview. This week, your child is going to learn more or work more on multi-digit multiplication. There's going to be a review lesson this week, and you're going to officially start working on fractions. So let's go ahead and get started by turning to lesson 65. Now, this lesson is going to use worksheet 47, which is a worksheet that your child completed in lesson 64. So you're going to want to make sure you have it handy. Now, the warm-up section is again going to have 3 multi-digit subtraction problems. You're going to want to handle these problems just like you did last week. Allow 5 to 7 minutes for your child to complete those problems. Once that time has passed, stop them wherever they are, work through the lesson, and then have your child finish those warm-up problems after the lesson has been completed. Now, the second part of the warm-up will review what your child learned in lesson 64. If needed, you can review that material from lesson 64. This lesson is going to work on check numbers and using them for multiplication problems. If you would like to review check numbers, they were taught in lessons 54 and 59. And there is also a video on check numbers on our website under the tab resources, and then under the tab pre-recorded webinars, and just scroll down until you see check numbers. So let's start by reviewing check numbers. Under the section called check numbers, you're going to give your child the problem 29 plus 29 plus 29 plus 29 equals. Now you're going to have your child add those numbers up, find the answer, and then they're also going to find the check numbers for each number to see if their answer is correct. So let's review those check numbers real quick, just to kind of get it back in your mind. So here we have 29 plus 29 plus 29 plus 29 equals 116. Now with check numbers, we add the digits together. So here we have 2 plus 9, except remember, 9s equal 0. So 0 plus 2 is equal to 2. So our check number for 29 is 2. For 116, we add those digits together. 1 plus 1 plus 6 equals 8. So the check number for 116 is 8. Now let's double check our answer. We have here 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. That equals 8. So our answer is correct. Now you're going to write this problem down for your child in the multiplication format. Because we're adding 29 4 different times, we can show that in multiplication. It looks something like this. So here we have 29 times 4 equals 116. We know that 29's check number is 2, and there's nothing to add with 4, so our check number for 4 is 4. We also know that our check number for 116 is 8. Now, with multiplication, we just multiply. 2 times 4 equals 8. So our check number is correct. You're going to do the same thing with problem 645 plus 645 plus 645. Your child is going to answer these numbers together and hopefully get 1,935. They will then use the check numbers to check to see if their problem is correct. Let's walk through that. So here we have the problem 645 added together 3 times to total 1,935. So we need to add our digits together. 645, 6 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 5. Well, we know that 4 plus 5 equals 9, which is 0, right? So that leaves us with 6. So 6 plus 0 equals 6. So the check number for 645 is 6. Now let's calculate the check number for 1,935. Again, 9 equals 0. So now we're just left with adding 1 plus 3 plus 5. 1 plus 3 plus 5 equals 9, which is also equal to 0. So our check number for 1,935 is 0. Well, let's add these together. We have 6 plus 6 plus 6, which equals 18. But we have to add those numbers together as well. 1 plus 8 equals 9, and 9 is equal to 0. So according to our check numbers, this number is correct. Now they're going to work this problem as a multiplication problem, just like they did in the first example. Here we have 645 times 3 equals 1,935. Let's see if that works. So we know that the check number for 645 is 6. And with 3, the check number for 3 is 3. And we knew that our check number for 1,935 is 0. Well, does this work? Well, let's take our numbers. 6 times 3 equals 18. We are not done yet because 18 is a double-digit number. So we're going to add the 1 plus 8, that equals 9. And we know that 9 equals 0. So according to our check numbers, this solution is correct. On the top of the second page of the lesson, you're going to give your child worksheet 47. Now, this is the worksheet that they did for lesson 64. Your child is going to calculate or find out the check numbers and then calculate those check numbers to make sure their answers are correct. Now, if an error has been made, then have them correct the error. Then you're going to give them worksheet 48 to your child and then have them calculate the multiplication problem, find the check numbers for each problem, and then calculate the check number to make sure that they got the problem correct. Now, there's a lot of problems and a lot of multiplication on that worksheet. If that is too much for your child to do in one sitting, then you can split that worksheet up into 2 segments. You can do the worksheet with the lesson and then maybe finish the rest of the worksheet the next day or later on in the same day. That's a really good option, especially if you have a struggling learner or if your child is still struggling with their multiplication math facts. The math card game suggested for this day is called Slower Multiplication Card Speed Game. We do have a blog for this game. It is called Winter Games Multiplication Card Speed. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 66. Now, this is a review lesson. What you're going to want to do is pick only one of those worksheets for your child to work through. Don't have your child work through both worksheets. The second worksheet is there if you want your child to have extra review on another day, or if your child struggle with part of this worksheet or the entire worksheet, you can work on reviewing and then reviewing lessons that on sections that your child struggled with, and then come back and do that second part or that second worksheet. As I normally do, I will show which lesson or lessons to review if your child struggled with any of the problems on worksheet 49A. If your child struggled with problem 1, which is 2,000 times 10, you can review lessons 19, 61, and 62. For problem 2, which was 20 times 8, you can review lessons 61 and 62. For problem 3, which is 32 divided by 8, review the multiples of 4 by playing a math card game. For problem 4, which was 238 plus 509, you can review lesson 6 or play math card games to work on their math facts. For problem 5, 64 divided by 8, review the multiples of 8 by playing math card games. Problem 6, 30 times 6, review lessons 61 and 62. For problem 7, which is 10,489 minus 512, you can review lesson 8 for subtraction or lesson 59 for check numbers. For problem 8, which is 428 times 3, review lessons 64 and 65. The problem 9, which asks which answer is correct, review lesson 59. For problems 10 through 13, which are the equality or inequality problems, review lessons 61 and 62. For problems 14 through 19, which is the rounding chart, review lessons 44, 45, and 46. For problem 20, which is the word problem, review lessons 61, 62, 63, and 64. The math card game for this lesson is Distribution Corners Game. There is not a blog for it. It is played just like corners, but the score calculation is different. If you have any questions about how to calculate this game, do not hesitate to call or email us. We are happy to help. Go ahead and turn to lesson 67. This is the first official day of learning fractions. For this lesson, you're going to need the fraction chart pieces. Now, if you purchased through us and you have these larger fraction charts, you will see that you will have 2 different fraction charts, especially if this is your first time using these fraction charts. You're going to have one that's solid, and you're going to have another one that is to be broken up into pieces. So you will have these pieces that are broken up, and it will come like this, and you will just snap them apart. Now, the warm-up section for this lesson is the top part of worksheet 50. Allow 5 to 7 minutes for your child to work through those problems. If your child needs more time, then just stop after that allotted time, work through the lesson, and then let your child complete the problems after the lesson has been completed. The last paragraph of the warm-up has the child say the ordinal numbers, which are first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Now, this is preparation for fractions. As we say, 1/3, 1/4, 4/5, etc. And that's how we say it in fractions. So that's just kind of prepping the language portion. Take a look at the section called Working with Halves. Here, you're going to give your child the fraction pieces, these, but you're going to have them face down. So your child only sees this side of it. Then you're going to have your child find the longest piece and then find a piece that is half as long. So it's going to look something like this. And you're going to ask your child, how many of these pieces will it take to make a whole? And you're going to say 2 pieces. You're going to need this piece and then the piece over there. Then you're going to have your child find the second piece. You're then going to ask your child, how many pieces is the 1 divided into? I love how this lesson shows fractions as division problems. It's extremely important when understanding fractions to know that fractions are division problems, and it's definitely used that way in higher levels of math. You're then going to explain that 1 is divided up or split up into 2 equal parts, and that is shown as the fraction as 1/2. And you're going to do the same thing for the thirds and the fourths that's listed on the lesson up into the top of the second page. Now take a look at the section called the whole fraction chart. Here your child is going to turn all of the fraction pieces over so that they can see the actual fraction, number. And then they're going to put that chart together just like it's shown on the second page of the lesson, or just like this fraction chart. They can use this chart as a reference if it will be helpful to them. Your child is actually going to use that chart that they put together when solving the problems for worksheet 50. If your child can, have them complete the worksheet completely on their own and then discuss the answers. Don't treat that discussion though like as in a right or wrong type of a worksheet, but instead a platform for dialogue and teaching, finding out what your child understood and what they didn't understand, and just talk about the things that they got wrong. Make sure to reference the fraction chart as you're reviewing their answers. Now take a look at the section called Fraction Stairs. Here your child is going to build stairs similar to what's found at the bottom of that page, of the second page of the lesson. They can do 1 or more of the stairs that's shown in the bottom of that page. There is a question that says, are these stairs like the usual stairs? Let your child ponder that a little bit if they don't know. However, if you have a struggling learner or a child who doesn't see the difference or understand what you're talking about, you may need to help them see that difference. With what I did with my struggling learners is I actually drew the typical stairs with even stair lengths and had my child compare the difference. Let me show you what I mean. So here I have the actual fraction stairs, and here I have the typical stairs. And what I did with my kids is I'd actually use my fingers and I would say, okay, so if I'm climbing up these stairs, what am I going to have a problem when I get up to here? Is my foot going to fit? Or if I'm stepping up on these stairs, you see how that is. So help your child see the difference or explain to you the difference between these 2 types of steps. The conclusion section has questions to help your child reiterate that fractions are division problems. If this is a new thought for your child, you may need to remind them of things that they've covered earlier on in the lesson. In fact, early on, I would even say 1/2 or 1 divided by 2 and 1 divided by 2. Show them that this here is a division problem, just to kind of help get that solidified in your child's mind. The suggested math card game for this lesson is Distribution Corners Game, which is the game that they played in lesson 66. You may also want to add a multiplication math card game to this lesson if your child is still learning them. Let's go ahead and turn to lesson 68. For this lesson, your child is going to need Appendix 7. Appendix 7 looks like this. You're also going to need scissors, which is not included in the math set. Make sure you save these pieces after you cut them out, because you will also use them in lesson 69. Now, just in the previous lessons that we've been doing, the warm-up starts with the first problems listed on their worksheet. The last paragraph of the warm-up is actually reviewing concepts that they covered in lesson 67. Feel free to go back and review any of those concepts that your child might have forgotten. This lesson will again help the child understand that fractions are division problems. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is take a strip that you've already cut out from, or your child's already cut out from appendix page 7. Then have your child fold that slip in half and then fold it in half again, in essence, folding it into fourths. Then your child is going to find the fraction piece that measures the same as this exact piece. And your child should find the 1/4 piece matches up exactly. Now, to help your child get a full comprehension of the purpose of this lesson, you may also want to say, so we took one strip, divided into fourths, and it measured 1/4. Then you're going to take two strips, tape them together, and then fold these two strips in half, and then in half again. And this time, your child's going to measure that. And for this, they're going to measure those in fourths again. So you may want to make sure you remove the half piece because it's also going to measure the same length as 1/2. So you don't want your child to pick the 1/2. So just have them pick from the 1/4. So here they're going to find 1/4 and 2/4 is how big this piece measures. And then you can end that section by saying, so 2 pieces split up into 4 equal segments is the same as 2/4. At the top of the second page, you're going to tape the third strip on and again, fold those tape pieces in half and then fold them in half again. Have your child find those fraction pieces and you will find that that final piece measures 3/4. And you can again end that segment by saying, so we had 3 pieces divided by 4. So we have 3/4. Then go down to the section called writing the results. Here you're going to write the equations that you did solve with these strips of paper for your child. So you took one piece divided by 4, and that equaled 1/4. 2 divided by 4 equals 2/4. 3 divided by 4 equals 3/4. And those equations are shown in the lesson manual. Follow that up by asking your child to write the fraction problem or the fraction for 2 divided by 3, which would be 2/3, 3 divided by 3, and then 4 divided by 5. Feel free to add more examples if your child needs more help. Keep asking these until you see it click for your child. Go down to the section called Worksheet 51. Now here, your child can use the tape strips of paper to help them solve the first 3 problems on the worksheets if they need it. Now, the bottom portion of the worksheet will help your child understand fractions as divisions. It actually is going to help you know that your child does understand it. If your child struggles with that section, you may want to come back to this lesson again on the next day to review the material and provide more examples. Now, the final question on the worksheet will have your child think through how to use fractions just a little bit. So the problem is this. Robin has 3 granola bars and wants to split them among 4 friends. How much does each friend get? Now, if your child struggles with this, ask them questions. Try to get them to think through it. Ask them questions like, so how many pieces are there? Well, there are 3 granola bars. And you can even use these strips cut out to help them kind of see. It might be a little helpful for them. Then ask, how many people are these granola bars going to be split by? Or how many groups are we needing here? If necessary, even ask, how can we show these 3 pieces are split between 4 people? And use these paper strips to help your child visualize it. Then once they figure that out, then have them draw how they split up those granola bars at the bottom of their worksheet. The solutions are provided in the lesson manual. And if you have any questions or if your child struggles through that at all, feel free to give us a call or email us. We're here to help. The suggested math card game for this lesson is Unit Fractions War Game, F2.1. And we do have a blog for that. It's called 2020 Summer Game Number 5, Fraction War. This blog has detailed instructions and also a video for it as well. Well, that's it for the week. If you have any questions or concerns about a lesson, or if your child is struggling with something, give us a call or email us. We're here for you. I look forward to seeing you next week as we cover lessons 65 to 68. Have a great week, everybody.